I'm on YouTube out today. I'm too fat for the best after my holiday.
What's happening? Welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of 6 of a new project that we're doing, the garden room build. In this series, I'm going to show you how to build a garden room. I'll be taking you through the whole process step by step, including the timber kit, roof construction, rubber roof cladding, and the windows and doors. In this episode, I'm going to take you through the first stage of the build, your wall plate and timber kit. But there is a catch when it comes to this garden room in particular. We aren't in our usual stomping grounds. We are about 100 miles away from where we usually live, which means we are staying in a caravan. We've only got 2 weeks to get this job done, start to finish. Also, this garden room comes with a set of drawings because we're actually in a conservation area, so it needs to be done to the spec that is required, opposed to just building any old garden room. So as you can see, the base for this job has already been complete, a nice big concrete pad. Now when it comes to the foundation of the garden room, I would only recommend 2 options. You can either go for ground screws or concrete pad. This customer opted for the concrete pad, which you got another subcontractor to do because this is going to be a home gym, so he wanted to make sure it was extra sturdy. So we're going to do a wee bit of due diligence before we get our wall put down. We're going to check for some high spots, double check all the sizes and make sure that it's nice and square, and then we can start getting our wall put down. Fucking donuts, man. How can you get it so wrong? Right, so we've established the base is a little bit out of a square, and the main problem is in this corner.
Smooth as a baby's bottom.
I tell you, there's always solutions when I'm about. Come see this, right? So what we did is I gave Stephen this end of the tape. There you go, my friend. He took it down that end and he held it on 100 mil, and I came up to this end and we measured the diagonal, right? So as you can see here, we've got 690 in this corner. And then what we did is Stephen went to the other side. We're right on the money, which means the 2 diagonals are the same size. Now we didn't start off with that. At first we were 50 mil out of square, and all we did was kick and adjust the frame to suit until it was perfect. So that's us got all the corners perfect. We're going to screw them down, bolt them down, and then we're going to string lines to make sure that the walls are going to be nice and straight. And that's how it's done. The next task we need to do is getting the walls straight, obviously to the corners. So how we're going to do that is we're going to take a couple of nails, we're going to drive them into the corners, and we'll string it to make sure that it's going to be absolutely straight. And the important thing here is pulling the string nice and tight so that it gives us an accurate reading, and then we'll just push the wall plate in and out to suit it, and that's going to make sure that we've got square corners, straight walls. And from this we're going to build up the way, so everything needs to be perfect. That's why we're taking a wee bit extra time doing this one step, so we've got no problems in the future. So how I do it is I put a nail at the back and I just anchor that down. That's going to be the anchor nail, and we'll put one nail here at the front, right on the shoulder of the timber. So if we set this up this way with the 2 nails up at each corner, what we can do is we can take our string, put it round the anchor, and then wrap it round the one at the front, work our way all along, go right round the room, and that's going to give us the straight lines that we need. And I need to start this off with a wee loop. So how I do it is I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so that's that one tight. Just as an anchor, that one will go round like that, so that it sits like that, if that makes sense. So see this line here? This is actually going to be on the line of the shoulder. So we string that all the way along and pull it nice and tight. So that will come round like that. He's going to pull that heavy tight and then go round the anchor, super tight. Keep going. Wrap it round this a couple of times. So now we can go along and we're going to fix our wall plate down, pulling it in and out to suit the line, and we're going to get this absolutely bang on straight. Everything is perfect, perfect, perfect. Now that back wall is roughly about 6 metres. What's the size? 5994, right? We're going to divide that wall into 2 because it's going to be too big, and obviously we can't get a bit of timber at 5994. So we're just going to half it right down the middle, have 2 walls either side, stand them up, and mainly focus on the back wall. The back wall is going to be the easiest because there is no window or opening on that back wall, and that's also going to give us something to project the side walls off it to keep everything plumb and level. And then the front walls get the most amount of work, but the least amount of structure because it's actually got a huge opening for the doors. But we'll cover that a wee bit later on in the video. Get your calculator out. Divide that size by 2 and cut 4 bits of timber at whatever size it is you've divided it by 2 by. Mark your offcut, like do that, so it doesn't confuse you and you know what's the shite. Shite goes on the plywood, the good stuff goes in the middle. Perfect. These are the headers and sole plate for the back wall. Now, like I said earlier, we're splitting the back wall into 2 just for easy manual handling, and obviously you don't get lengths of timber at 6 metres long. The 2 walls are going to be exactly identical because we've halved it right in the middle. For efficiency, I can measure and mark all the stud centres out on the 4 of them at the one time, and then we can just split it. We know we're going to have 600 centres, but remember, 0's a number, so we're going to have 1 down this end. Right, so 38's there. I wouldn't normally mark this one, but just for the purpose of the video, I'm going to mark it for you. The first stud is going to go here right on the end. And then from that, we're going to have 600 centres. So if we go 600 here, that will catch the half sheet of plasterboard. That's the centre of the timber. And the timber we're using is slightly different for usual. Instead of using reg, we're using CLS. So half of 38 is 15 add 4, which would be 19. So if I go 19 back from the centre, which is here, that's going to be the shoulder of the bit of timber. Okay, so we can square that right across all of them and put a big X. X is where the stud goes. So then all we do is we take our ruler. This is the good rule. I often get asked about it. It's really cool, the fact that it opens up and it's exactly 600. If you half it, it's exactly 300 if you're doing your screws or nail spacings. Usually it's around about that. It's got loads of different cool features. And this isn't an advert, by the way. I paid for this and I just think they're a really cool tool. And it came all the way from New Zealand. So we're going to use the 600 feature on it. So if I open up the ruler all the way, we've got 600 at the end where our starting mark is, and then we can just mark it all the way along, and then I can just run along the timber, holding the ruler on the mark as I go. 600. You could do this with your tape. I just find this is the easiest way to do it, and this is the way that I've always done it. In 600. Look at that, it finishes bang on where the stud's going to be going. Bingo was his name, oh. We're on bonus here. Everybody understand? Let's get it. Then we've just put 2 header and sole plate aside. We're going to focus on the one that we've got here. We're going to spread these open, just like your ma's legs. Then we're going to cut that bit out. And then we can put our studs in between and space them out. Watch this. Bing bap boom bap bam. Right, let's do it, brother. I'll nail my side first, then you nail your side, right? Bang, 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 you shut me down. So while Stephen's just nailing in that last one, this wall is taller than 2.4, so what we need to do is we need to put dwangs in. So we're just going to put the dwangs in while it's on the floor and while it's lying down just now, and it'll be so much easier opposed to try to do it when it's standing up. And also because there's obviously a back wall over here, we don't want to be squeezing down the side of it when we're putting on the OSB, we don't want to be squeezing down the side of it when we're putting on the battens, the cladding, etc. So we're going to try and do as much of that as possible before erecting the wall, always trying to be as efficient as possible. So we've got the chop saw just now, do all the cuts, do all the nailing, etc. So that when it comes to the insulation, comes to the sheeting, we don't need to get the chop saw back out. You catch my drift? He's picking up how efficient we are. Reload! Look at all the nails that Stephen's missed. Just as well the customer supplied the nails to this job. It'd be skin.
I've still got a nail gun in my hornet.
Let's get sheets on. So I start with this corner, I'm going to put a nail in here. So I get this corner perfect first, right? And then if you come over here, see how this is slightly running off? Just slightly running off there, thanks Jodie. So I'm going to line this up right, and I'm going to run right down this. Now if you look here, we just need to hit the kit down at the top, so it's overhanging a wee bit of lip. So we'll just hit the kit down so that that's perfectly flush. That's it? Perfect. So then now I know, because we've squared this panel off the sheet, I know that this panel is bang on square. We can get the rest of the sheets on, we can get all of the building paper on, and then we're going to put all the battens on. Then we can erect this wall. Oops. Slide it to me. If you're nailing with 90s, remember this timber's 38 instead of 45, so you need to put your nail gun at an angle because it can't go straight down, it'll hit the concrete. Okay, right, so we're just onto the next wall. We've got the back one up fully. Looks smashing, but you can really see the size of this. You can see why they needed planning permission. It's like 3 metres high on the inside, which is pretty cool for the overhead presses. Now, remember, this is going to be a gym. Now, this wall over here isn't as simple as the first one that we did because we've got a window in it, but we've already marked out where our cripples are going to be going on the wall plate over there.
Fucking hell. It's a big one.
It's actually huge. Oh. I want to push it in, but we don't want to push it too hard that it knocks the back wall off our plumb, if that makes sense, right? I'm going to push it. 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, I'm going to get a wee bit of lost sense out of gravity. 1, 2, 3. Right, so this component that you see me nailing up here is called a lintel. And what basically a lintel does is it disperses the weight, because obviously we've got an opening for a window, and as such the window's actually quite large and long. So when the weight's on top of the building, obviously it needs to go transfer down through the studs, but we can't do that when there's an opening for a window. So the weight will come down onto the lintel, spread along the lintel, and then it will come down on what's called a cripple studs, which these are here. You can see that we've got a double cripple stud, and our lintel is going to sit on top of them, so when the weight comes down the building, it's going to come down onto the lintel, pass along the lintel, and then down. The force is going to go into these cripple studs and then into the floor. And what that's going to prevent is if you don't put a lintel in, you'll often see sagging, or you'll see that the fact that the studs have been cut and there's nothing to spread that weight, it can cause major issues with your windows down the line. So we're just going to put this in right now. But it's a heavy one, so I'll need Stephen's help. So it's just going right up and in, mate. We'll probably need to get a good whack in with a sledgehammer. Oh, there's your end, didn't it? Just hit it, it'll go in. Nice. What a guy, what a guy. So we're going to get this nailed up, and then we're going to build a small frame just above here, which will then take the plasterboard. Let's get it. making absolute good time. Managed to get this wall up. Don't know if Jodie just had a porridge this morning, but it wasn't as heavy as what we thought it was going to be. Plenty of framing in that with all the cripple studs and the lintel. Now we're moving on to the front wall. Now we're going to do the front wall a little bit different to previous ones that we've done. Usually we build them as one and then put them up, but because it's going to be so big and we don't have the space anymore because we've got all the bracing up, so this is the bracing here that's holding all the walls in place so it doesn't blow down on us, we're just going to build it in sections. So we're going to find the centre of the room, build this in a section, build the other side in a section, and then we'll put the lintel on and we'll connect it as one. We've did this on previous jobs, like the home extension that we did in Milwaukee in Glasgow. Very similar process. So this process of building this garden room is the exact same as building the timber kit for that extension. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, it will all start to come together, so stay with us. Let's go on to building this front wall. So our structure is pretty much complete and it's looking pretty dapper, so I'm quite happy with it. One thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this threshold here, this timber one, and we're going to put it to the top. And the reason why we're going to do that is just so that when the client, we fit the doors for the client, they're going to be able to walk in and not going to have a big step going over. Right, so I don't think I really explained what these battens were for. So the batten's going vertical or 25mm and the batten's going horizontal or 25mm, and what that allows is a 50mm cavity for airflow to go under the building and up once the cladding's on. So we're going to attach our cladding to this. And the reason why we put these on before we put the roof is because it means it's going to be a whole lot easier, because now we can get the full size to work at the soffits and fascia, and as well as that, as we're climbing up and down the roof, it's a safer place to put the ladder to, maybe even fix the ladder to. Now around the doors you'll see that I've doubled up and closed them up like this, so there's no gap around the doors and around the windows. It's also doubling up as a fire stop, so that if there was ever a fire, the fire can't run right round the cavity and cause damage, but I highly doubt there will be a fire. But we've got to put it in because it's part of the regs. Now we do that around the front and the back and the other two windows. Now usually what we would do is we would fit our doors and windows to the fire stops and we would actually just screw through into that, but because we're getting a nice cladding, what we've decided to do with the client is we're going to set the doors and windows back a little bit so that we've got a good chunk, which is 50mm here, where we can get a good return on the cladding, which will look really nice when the job is done. And whilst I was finishing all the battens, Stephen has been doing this task. He's went round and he's drilled all the holes for the bolts, and these bolts here are just basically big M12 bolts that are screwing right through the timber kit, the wall plating, into the concrete pad. And Stephen is doing the way we like to do things here, is we're doing things in a system. So he's went round, drilled all the holes, he then went round and cleared out all the holes with the little air blower thing, and then he's putting all his bolts in and he'll just be able to run round and zip it all up. Efficiency is key. And that is the timber kit and wall plate complete. We are now going to be moving on to the roof in the afternoon. See you in the next video.